Very shocking news. Loudly crying face. AGT Season 20 winner Jessica Sanchez loudly crying face, the heartbreaking truth behind her smile. There is a specific kind of silence that falls over an arena just before a prodigy takes a breath to sing. It is a heavy silence, loaded with the weight of thousands of eyes and the crushing pressure of expectation. For Jessica Sanchez, this silence was not just a dramatic pause. It was the space where she lived for most of her life. To the world, Jessica Sanchez is the powerhouse with a voice that defies the laws of physics, a young woman who can summon storms with a single note. But behind the microphone, behind the standing ovations and the televised glory, lies a story that the cameras often missed. It is a narrative of a shy girl who carried the dreams of a family on her small shoulders, battling a world that constantly tried to tell her who she should be. This is not just the story of a singer. It is the human journey of Jessica Sanchez, fighting to find her own voice in a room full of noise. The story of Jessica Sanchez begins long before the bright lights of Hollywood. Raised in Chula Vista, California, her childhood was not defined by luxury, but by a deep, resonant hope. According to various media reports and fan accounts, the early years for the Sanchez family were marked by significant sacrifice. Jessica Sanchez was not just a child with a hobby. She was a beacon of possibility. However, being a child prodigy comes with a terrifying price. While other children played, Jessica Sanchez was working. The burden of talent is that it demands to be used, often at the expense of a normal childhood. There were early mornings, late nights, and the constant nagging fear that perhaps this gift was not enough to change their circumstances. This fear was not unfounded. Before the world embraced her, Jessica Sanchez tasted the bitter pill of rejection. At the tender age of 11, she appeared on the first season of America's Got Talent. She was a little girl with a big voice, but the industry was cold. She was cut from the competition. For a child, this kind of rejection does not just sting, it leaves a scar. It plants a seed of self-doubt that grows in the dark. Jessica Sanchez had to return to her normal life, walking the halls of her school, carrying the heavy feeling of having been close to the sun and falling back down. She had to wonder, in those quiet moments in her bedroom, if she had already peaked before she had even truly begun. But resilience is often forged in the fires of disappointment. Jessica Sanchez did not stop. She entered a period of intense, quiet struggle. This was the unglamorous middle chapter that documentaries often skip. It was years of vocal training, of singing at local events, of trying to be heard in a world that had already moved on. The physical fatigue of constant performance was matched only by the mental exhaustion of uncertainty. Jessica Sanchez was fighting against the statistic that says most child stars fade away. She was fighting to prove that she mattered. Then came American Idol. Season 11 became the stage for her resurrection, but it was also a crucible of immense stress. Viewers saw the polished performances, the renditions of Whitney Houston that seemed effortless. They did not see the trembling hands. In various interviews given years later, Jessica Sanchez has hinted at the overwhelming pressure of that time. She was a teenager, introverted and shy, suddenly thrust into a global spotlight. Every week was a battle for survival. The fear of elimination was a physical weight. There was a defining moment during the competition that exposed the fragility of her situation. It was the night she received the lowest number of votes. The shock on her face was real. It was the terrifying realization that talent alone might not save her. The judges used their only save of the season to keep her in the race, a dramatic intervention that proved her worth, yet the emotional toll of that near loss was immense. It was a stark reminder to Jessica Sanchez that in the entertainment industry, you are only as good as your last performance. She stood on that stage, tears in her eyes, looking small and vulnerable, realizing that her dream was hanging by a thread. Although she finished as the runner-up, a position that historically launches careers, the aftermath brought a different kind of darkness. The transition from a reality TV contestant to a recording artist is treacherous. According to industry observations and fan discussions, Jessica Sanchez faced a difficult period of trying to find her identity within a major record label system. There were expectations to be a pop star, to dance, to fit a mold that perhaps did not fit the soulful, authentic artist she wanted to be. When she eventually parted ways with her major label, it was a moment that could be perceived as a failure. The silence returned. The phone calls stopped. The stadiums were replaced by smaller venues. This period represents the silent struggle of Jessica Sanchez. It is the loneliness of the artist who has tasted the peak and is now navigating the valley. Various media sources suggest that the pressure to remain relevant in a fast-paced digital age can lead to significant burnout and feelings of isolation. Jessica Sanchez had to confront the question, "Who am I without the machine behind me?" It was a time of deep introspection, where she had to learn to value herself not for the applause, but for the art. Yet, this is why people love Jessica Sanchez. They love her because she did not crumble. She did not disappear into the shadows of bitterness. Instead, she turned to platforms like YouTube, rebuilding her connection with fans brick by brick. She stripped away the glitz and returned to the music. Her covers, often recorded in simple settings, showcased a voice that had matured through pain. Fans connect with her humility. Jessica Sanchez does not display the arrogance of a diva. She possesses the quiet grace of a survivor. She represents the shy girl who refuses to be silenced. Her devotion to her heritage, often performing for the Filipino community and singing the national anthem at major events like Manny Pacquiao's fights, shows a woman who knows exactly who she is and where she comes from. In recent years, Jessica Sanchez has continued to work, to record, and to perform. While she may not be dominating the mainstream radio charts every day, her success is measured by something more profound: longevity and integrity. She has taken control of her narrative. According to her own social media updates, she continues to evolve, experimenting with new sounds and collaborating with other artists. She is no longer the puppet of an industry. She is the master of her own destiny. As we look at Jessica Sanchez today, we see a woman who has walked through fire. The pain of her early rejections, the fear of the idol stage, and the uncertainty of her independence have not broken her. They have refined her. She stands as a testament to the fact that true talent does not need a golden ticket to shine. It only needs the courage to keep singing when the room goes dark. In the end, when the music fades and the crowds disperse, Jessica Sanchez remains. She is a reminder to every dreamer that the path is never a straight line. It is a winding road of valleys and peaks, of noise and silence. And in that silence, Jessica Sanchez has found her peace. She has earned her place not just in music history, but in the hearts of those who listen not just to the song, but to the soul behind it. We watch her now with a quiet, deep respect, honoring the journey of a woman who learned that her voice was enough, even when the world was quiet.